Yo, what the fuck is going down, everybody? It's your boy Sauceman X. I'm checking back at you niggas with another goddamn video today. But anyways, matter back with another political video, is goddamn bitch. And you already see this by the title. This video is obviously going to be about a lot of shit. So this video is obviously going to be about the shooting. Okay, literally the shooting. The police officer shooting where some guy decided to go in and actually go to a police car and out of nowhere just shoot two police officers for absolutely no legitimate reason. And I'm going to, basically, they're basically in critical condition. They almost died. So he attempted to kill two police officers for absolutely no legitimate reason. So I'm going to be talking about that and the potential motives behind this actual police shooting, and I'm also going to be talking about the leftist hypocrisy, okay? The leftist hypocrisy and how they actually want to justify violence against police officers and how they probably don't have a problem with any of this that's happening. And I'm also going to be talking about the riots, because apparently in Pennsylvania, I believe, there has been more riots, okay, going on, throughout this entire country. And of course, there's another, riot going on in Pennsylvania where people are literally going in, okay, and rioting over another justified police shooting, which is something that I predicted a long time ago. Another justified police shooting where, somebody literally had a knife, okay, literally had a knife and decided to run at a police officer with a knife, and then he shot him justifiably in self-defense. So I'm going to be talking about that and how there's no reason to even protest this, but of course, a lot of people are for absolutely no legitimate reason because they actually support violence against police officers. And I'm also going to be talking about the wildfires, okay? Because we already know that I believe in California for the past week, actually, there's been wildfires going on. And of course, the mainstream media is going to make it seem like, oh, this is climate change, when we already know, if you actually look into the context of the situation, it has nothing to do with climate change. And there's been more information that has been leaked proving that these people have been deliberately starting, trying to set these fires. So I'm going to be talking about that and how, it debunks their entire narrative. And I'm also going to be talking about Donald Trump, because we already know that Donald Trump, there's been information, okay? There's been audio footage literally, leaked, okay, quote unquote leaked, to quote unquote prove that, he downplayed the coronavirus. So I'm going to be talking about that and all the hypocrisy that's within that. And now they're literally trying to do another hit piece against Donald Trump when there's lots of hypocrisy within that. And it's literally a pathetic attempt to make it seem like he's done nothing to, solve the problems in this country as it pertains to the coronavirus. So I'm going to be talking about that and all that hypocrisy. So anyways, let me just get right on into the shit. So the first point in the video is obviously the shooting. Okay, the shooting, we don't actually know who the suspect is. And of course, there's, the guy who literally went in and decided to shoot police officers for no legitimate reason. We don't actually know. I believe, it happened in Compton, Los Angeles. So there's a lot of people, okay, there's a lot of people who are trying to say that, this guy, was a part of a gang or some shit like that. Like he was a gang member and he's trying to, be a part of this gang, and he decided to go in and shoot police officers for absolutely no legitimate reason. And apparently that's that's a way you can get into the gang, which that's unlikely in my personal opinion. Okay, this whole thing is unlikely in my personal opinion, considering the fact that I don't, at least I don't believe that, that as a common occurrence, as it pertains to gang culture in this country, where you just go in, randomly go up on police officers and just shoot them for no reason. And this, this most likely, okay, if you actually look into the context of the situation, this most likely was a lone gunman who literally decided that he wanted to shoot two police officers for no reason. He most likely wasn't a part of a gang because there's literally no one around him, which it doesn't make sense. How are you going to shoot two police officers, to actually do this, to be a part of this gang, while you're simultaneously doing it all by yourself? That doesn't even make any sense. So we already know, and most likely, he was most likely a lone gunman. No one was around with him at the time. So in my personal opinion, this person was radicalized by the Black Lives Matter movement. Even if he was trying to be a part of a gang and be a criminal, he was still most likely radicalized by the Black Lives Matter movement and his hatred of police officers, which eventually led to the shooting. So we already know, okay, we already know, okay, we don't know the context of the situation, but when we actually know the context of the situation, when he potentially gets arrested, he's most likely against police officers and wants to cause and justify violence against them. So we already know that leftists, okay, this is the problem, okay, leftists and BLM have been encouraging this behavior for the longest fucking time, and this isn't the only instance of people shooting police. Well, maybe this is one of the only instances of people deliberately shooting police officers for no reason, but we already know that, this isn't the only instance of that. There's also been plenty of fucking instances where people are attacking police officers, throwing bottles, okay, literally throwing frozen bottles at police officers, throwing rocks at police officers. And I literally saw this one video, okay, where somebody threw, I don't even know what it was, threw something random at a police officer and knocked him out, okay, and people all throughout social media, all the radical leftists were celebrating the violence that was perpetuated against the police officers for absolutely no legitimate reason. So they don't care, okay, they literally don't even care. If, same thing with the Trump supporters thing, where I believe 2 weeks ago Antifa killed, the Trump supporter who was peacefully demonstrating demonstrating for absolutely no reason. And they justified violence and the death against, against the Trump supporter. It's the same exact thing with police officers. They don't think their lives matter, even if they're black police officers, which, contradicts the whole BLM narrative. They don't care if, they don't care if police officers die or they're victims of violence, because they actually want to justify violence against them, and they've constantly proven that throughout this entire time. Okay, where there's plenty of justified police killings, and they want to make it seem like it's all the police officers' fault and they deserve to die because of it. So what do you know? This is another instance of someone being radicalized by the BLM movement, most likely, which is literally some crazy shit, and which leads me on, which leads me on to my next point, which is obviously leftists. They're not going to say anything negative about it. Of course, leftists are not even talking about this whole situation because they know that they're most likely responsible for radicalizing this person to actually go in and shoot police officers. And also the next point of the video, which is obviously the person, another riots, more riots that are happening in Pennsylvania, where there's literally, a guy, out of nowhere, I don't know the exact context of the situation, but this guy literally ended up with a knife in his hand. The body cam footage was already released, where he literally had a knife in his hand, and the police officer was trying to detain him and arrest him, and instead of actually dropping the knife and actually following the orders, same thing with the Jacob Blake situation, instead of actually following the orders, he decides to charge at him, he decides to grab a knife and continue to run towards him, continue to walk towards him with the knife. The body cam footage has already been leaked, and the police officer had no other choice but to defend himself and defend his own life, and eventually shot and killed the person who decided to go in. But where do you know that the person who literally had a knife and ran at the police officer was black, which basically means BLM is going to be outraged for absolutely no legitimate reason. They've been doing this for the last few months, which, as I just said, they don't actually care if a police officer kills someone in self-defense. They're still going to justify violence against them, which is why they don't have a problem with the person in Compton shooting police officers for absolutely no reason. So where do you know that people are rioting over it, people are rioting over it, and it literally makes absolutely no fucking sense. They're continuing to make it seem like this is a racist issue, when they're literally, once again, same thing with the Jacob Blake situation, only defending criminals and not saying anything negative about actual criminal behavior against police officers, which is literally the definition of a hate crime in my personal opinion. So at this point, they're not going to say anything negative about hate crimes against police officers, attacking against police officers, but somehow police officers are not allowed to defend themselves, because this is perfect mob mentality where they justify violence against anyone they disagree with politically. So the whole thing makes no sense, and it just shows you that they want to cause more violence, and radicalize more people, even if people's lives are taken, even if people's lives are taken, and they don't actually care about morality at this fucking point, so which is literally some crazy shit. So going on to the next point of the video, which is other things going on in politics, which is obviously the wildfires, which is obviously the wildfires that's been happening within the past week, which is obviously literally some crazy shit. So what the mainstream media, has been saying for the last few fucking weeks is that they're either not bringing up people that were actually deliberately setting the wildfires, they're only blaming it on climate change. They're literally trying to say that, the wildfires going on in California within this past week, this is this is a perfect exemplification of climate change, which makes absolutely no fucking sense, because one, there's no scientific evidence, there's literally no scientific evidence. Scientists, people who are actually environmentalists, have factually proven that the wildfires are directly due to climate change. They did not prove that at all, you know what I'm saying? So, but they're still making it seem like it's climate change with absolutely no evidence. And we already know the entire climate change movement has been politicized within the past few fucking years, just to advance a leftist political agenda, to actually involve more globalization, so they can blame the United States for all the world's problems. Because we already know, all the pollution going on in China, all the corruption going on in China. They never say anything about climate change as it pertains to China, but only as it pertains to the United States, or even Australia, for example, where they're trying to make it seem like, it's climate change. And when even in Australia earlier this year, they were literally deliberately setting fires for absolutely no reason. So it's happening again, People are deliberately setting fires. So we already know it's already been confirmed. There's even been videos, I believe that there was this BLM terrorist that was arrested. I don't know if it's actually confirmed or not, but it's this potential BLM terrorist that was arrested for deliberately setting fires in California. So even if this fire set off itself, there are probably people deliberately setting fires. And there's this one video, where I saw whereas this person in a helicopter, I believe, who decided to go in, and actually throw flamethrowers, most likely throw flamethrowers into forests in California to continue the fires that were actually going on. So people may have deliberately started these fires to begin with, or the fires started and they deliberately continue to set fires for absolutely no legitimate reason. So these people are literal criminals, literal terrorists, and these people are arsonists. But the media is never going to bring this up, even though there's been video evidence proving this. And they're going to make it seem like it's obviously because of climate change, which makes absolutely no fucking sense, because the next point of the video I was going to get into is that when you look at the fires, if you actually, look at the maps where, people that actually know the facts of the situation that I've already confirmed, all of the fires that are happening in this country, it's only happening on the west coast of the United States, It's only happening on the west coast of the United States, and if you look into the context of the situation again, if it was because of climate change, it would have also been happening in the west coast of Canada, and it would have also been happening in the west coast of Mexico, because we already know that Mexico is right below, okay, right below California is literally Mexico, so it makes no sense, okay, for why it's only happening in California and it's not happening in Mexico at all, if this was because of climate change, let alone it's not scientifically proven that it's climate change, and it doesn't make sense for why it's not happening in Canada. It's only happening in the United States. It's because it's been confirmed that people were deliberately setting fires. But the media is never going to bring this up. Okay, they're not going to talk about it. They're going to pretend like it doesn't exist and continue to push their ridiculous narrative that has already been disproven by facts and actual evidence you can find for yourself and all the hypocrisy within that. So it's literally some crazy shit. So going on to the next point of the video, okay, which is obviously the Donald Trump situation, okay, which is obviously the Donald Trump situation where, you know, I believe last week, okay, I don't know this guy's name, I completely forgot this guy's name, I think his name is Michael Cohen or some shit, I believe it's Michael Cohen, who literally, you know, is trying to expose Donald Trump, I believe, you know, to try to make it seem like, you know, there's audio tapes being released, you know, that says that Trump downplayed the coronavirus, and, you know, he's, you know, I believe someone's writing a book about him to make it seem like he's a terrible person, and we already know, just like in 2016, okay, they're going to come up with all these ridiculous scandals that make no fucking sense, release audio tapes right before Trump gets elected, because we're gonna know 2016 that the entire fucking grab him by the pussy comments was said, you know, was released like right before the election to try to desperately get him to lose, and you know, they failed at that and Trump won the presidency, you know what I'm saying? And then also, you know, all this ridiculous shit's gonna happen. People accused Trump of rape, I believe, back in 2016 with no evidence, and we already know that it's happening again, okay? It's happening again, so expect more of this shit to happen within the next few months to try to desperately stop Trump from winning the re-election. So we already know there's So if you actually look into the audio tapes, of the situation, you know, he made these statements in February, okay? So which again, he made these statements in February, I believe it was February or March, or something like that, like one audio tape was from February, the other one was from March. But if you actually look into the context of the situation, this does not even make any sense, okay? This literally makes absolutely no fucking sense, and we already know because Donald Trump actually took action, okay? Donald Trump actually took decisive action on January 31st, okay? So even when he made these statements downplaying the coronavirus, Trump already took action because he actually didn't downplay the coronavirus when he knew, you know, the potential threat that it actually had. And not only that, you know what I mean, if you actually look into the audio tapes itself, he says he wanted to downplay the coronavirus. Those are his words, downplay the coronavirus, because he didn't want to make the American people scared, okay? He didn't want to make the American people scared, so it was more about what he was saying rather than what he was actually doing. If you actually look at what he did, he actually took decisive action. And not only, you know, are they trying to make it seem like he's terrible because he, you know, downplayed the coronavirus, even though he knew the virus was going to be deadly, technically, according to the audio tapes, he knew the virus was going to be deadly in early February, and obviously there was no legitimate reason to, you know, shut down the entire country and shut down the entire thing, especially, you know, it's already been confirmed within the past few weeks that only 10,000 people actually died from the coronavirus, which basically proves that we should not have closed the country up to the extent that we have. But we already know, okay? We already know they're going to try to blame him for 100,000 deaths for no reason, even though it wasn't actually 100,000 deaths. So that's more hypocrisy. But it isn't just Trump who quote-unquote downplayed the virus. If you actually look at his actions, he didn't actually downplay the virus. And you actually look into the context of the situation, everyone downplayed the virus, okay? You want to say Trump downplayed the virus because of what he said? Everyone literally downplayed the virus. You literally had the mainstream media itself, okay? The mainstream media, the same mainstream media that everyone's brainwashed by, apparently millions of Americans are brainwashed by, the mainstream media itself was literally downplaying the virus to the fullest extent. You literally have people on CNN, pretty much every single news outlet saying that the coronavirus wasn't going to be deadly at all in the beginning of February. There's absolutely nothing to worry about. You should be worried about the flu more than the actual coronavirus. They were saying this at the exact same time Donald Trump said he wanted to downplay the coronavirus. And it's not only just the people in this country, okay? Not only the mainstream media in this country, the fake media in this country, it's also, okay, undoubtedly China, okay? It's literally China. So of course they're going to sound completely disingenuous when they're going to try to blame Trump because of one or two statements that he made in February and March, when they're not going to hold any accountability from China. As I said, you know what I'm saying, arresting doctors that knew that the virus was contagious and lying to the entire world in January, okay? Lying to the entire world in January, saying that the virus wasn't transmittable from person to person, the virus wasn't transmittable at all. They're not going to hold any accountability from China, which we already know if the Chinese government wasn't corrupt, the coronavirus wouldn't have left China at all. They're not going to hold any accountability to them, any accountability to anyone, you know, any governor that didn't do their job correctly. They're going to blame the whole thing on Donald Trump for absolutely no legitimate legitimate reasons. So already know this makes no sense, okay? And it just shows you the media hypocrisy behind it, how they downplayed it to an even bigger extent, while they're completely ignoring Donald Trump's actions that he actually fucking took. And you want to say that, oh, Donald Trump's response wasn't perfect? It's because China lied, okay? China lied about the entire situation, and of course, no one's going to be perfect when dealing with this pandemic if China's government is that fucking corrupt. So if you want to blame Trump, you can only blame him for not being perfect and foreseeing everything that may have happened due to the coronavirus, which also doesn't make any sense considering the fact that only 10,000 people actually died from the coronavirus, and you're going to only hold accountability to Trump and no one else. So this is literal fucking hypocrisy. Anyways, a lot of shit to talk about in this video. Tell me what you think in the comment section. This shit. It's your boy, the Sauceman X. I'm just gonna fucking out of your piece.